Ready, everyone? Okay, let's come back. And before we get on to the questions, somebody asked about what is in-between pulse. Okay, Chun, there are three positions, right? Chun, Guan, and Chi. So in between, well, Chun, Guan, and Chi, other than representing each organ, the organs that are in the position, they also mean upper, middle, and lower jiao. So specifically when we're talking about the convex pulses or something, there's a mass or some sort of swelling or whatever, it could happen in between pulses. So what I mean is if your finger is here, right? 寸关尺. Now, in between pulses, I mean like in between 寸 and 关. So it's right on the styloid process, you feel some sort of a bump. That means that stagnation or hernia is right in between the upper and middle jaw, somewhere over here. There's some sort of swelling or some sort of mass or some cyst. If it's between 关 and 池, it's indicating the swelling or the mass. It's between the middle and the lower jaw. And if the convex pulse or the bulge is right on the position of 寸, 关, and 池, or 池, that means it's either in the upper, middle, or lower jaw. Okay, is that clear? Okay, so let's go to these questions I have for you. These are very common questions that you will have if you are new to this. Now, can you guys type in the chat room? Is a thin pulse the same as a weak pulse? Yes or no? No, no, yes, yes, no, thank you. No problem. No, no, no. No, 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 yes. Okay, let me ask again. Is the pulse thin and weak the same? Now let's go back to that pulse 1, 2, 3. What is number one? Figure out what shape it is. Number two, what jump it is. So if you're looking at a thin pulse, is that a jump or is that a shape? Please type in the chat room for me. Is thin pulse a shape or a jump? Shape, right? Is weak pulse a shape or a jump? Jump. Great. Perfect. So let me ask you that question again. Is a thin pulse the same as a weak pulse? No, right? One is describing the shape of the pulse, the other one, the jump of the pulse. So you don't really know what the patient has yet until you couple that thin pulse with something, or you couple that weak pulse with something, right? It's either weak and something else, thin with something else, right? But weak and thin pulse are not the same, okay? Not the same. Good. Next. Now, is a thick pulse the same as a forceful pulse? Not a trick question, okay? Come on, you guys. Yes or no? Okay, good, good, good. Okay, yes, no. Meaning, yes, you're right. The answer is no. Thick pulse, that's a shape. Forceful pulse, that's a jump. So that's like talking apples and oranges. They're not the same, okay? Because thick can be forceful, thick can also be thin, and forceful can be thick and forceful can be thin, right? So it depends on what it is. The diagnosis is different. So those two are not the same. Good job. Okay, next. Now, here we go. Is deep pulse the same as a weak pulse? Yes or no? No, 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 no. Oh, good. Very good. It's different, right? Because pulse 1, 2, 3. 1 is shape, 2 is you figure out the jump, 3 is you figure out the level. We are dealing with the level here. So deep pulse is just a deep pulse. Deep pulse just tells us, okay, there's some dampness there, and it's an interior problem, but it doesn't tell us what else, right? It could be deep and strong, could be deep and weak, correct? Totally different herbs, totally different diagnosis. Now, how about a weak pulse, right? It could be weak and thick, weak and, right? Weak and thin. It could be weak and deep, weak. Can it be weak and superficial? Not really, not that combination doesn't usually happen very much. But these two definitely are not the same either, okay? Good, you are getting the hang of it. As long as you're clear about the shape, the jump, Then you won't get confused. As you're studying this, sometimes you confuse yourself back to, going back to your TCM terminology. That's when it gets really confusing.